Shit's gone sideways.
All right, let's rip into it.
What?
Joe Kwon, thanks for coming on to Shit's Gone Sideways.
Man, I can't stop laughing about the name.
Name?
It's brilliant, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
I'm glad you like it. What is it about Shit's Gone Sideways that you thought was funny?
Yeah, man, it's just like...
Because it resonated with you?
It just resonated with everyone, right? It
So-
just makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to think of a name of something which rang true for me, but also wasn't taken because every fucking thing I was thinking like Life Gives You Lemons, Up Shit Creek, all these things, and every single one I Googled, they were all already podcasts.
Yeah.
So after about 10, I found that Shit's Gone Sideways. I was like, great, it's not taken.
No,
Let's
it's
lock in that
perfect,
one.
man.
So you're the founder of Confit.
Yeah.
Tell us about Confit.
So Confit also stands for Convict Fitness.
Yeah.
It was a name given by one of the boys. He's deceased now.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a fitness organization. The reason why we started it was because it was a lack of acceptance by society when inmates were coming out. And what a lot of inmates do when they're in jail, they train.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought, the best way to kind of integrate inmates into society was inmates being personal trainers, right, and having the rest of society train with us.
Yeah.
And it was a platform for us to be able to bridge that social gap through fitness and a way for inmates to give back to society through fitness.
And this all started with just you on your own to begin with?
Mate, to be honest with you, it was like a bit of a running joke inside jail. You know.
That you were going to become a personal trainer?
No. You know how inmates, like everyone thinks that inmates in jail train with these heavy weights, they lift free weights. That's all bullshit, right? That's all in the movies, right?
Yep.
That stopped like in the 80s or something, right?
There's bags full of water.
Bags and detergent bottles like full of water and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And at one point in the unit, there was that many fucking detergent bottles. We're like, fuck fitness first. Let's start bottles first when we get out. And you know what? There's a lot of like raw fitness knowledge that comes down like from generation to generation. And it's different how we train. All the military guys made a big thing out of like military style training.
Yeah.
And the way the boys train in jail is like, well, why don't we start something when we get out,
I have to say, it was one of the first things that I was impressed by the level of innovation when it comes to fitness in jail because of like all the tools that are created for as weights.
Yeah.
Guys unscrewing broomsticks and using it as like a barbell.
Inmates are very creative and innovative when it comes to things, Like we make something out of nothing, right? Like, for example, like tattoo guns.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck thought of that? How much time did you have to do to come up with that,
I still remember like my old cellie using his thong as like a squeegee to like wipe all the water off the ground at Parkley. And I was just like, there's guys come up with an idea for everything. A clothesline.
Yeah.
With just a bit of bed sheet string, all kinds of stuff like that. So let's kind of go back to I guess how it all began. This kind of path for you getting to the idea of coming up with Confit. So you got arrested in what was it 2001?
No, it was 2007.
2007 in November, right? When you got raided, and you were 21, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that whole experience.
Look, I was running my own syndicate at that time.
Yeah.
My main source of like product was ecstasy, MDMA. And I'd just done a big drug deal, and there was about, I can't remember how much it was, but it was not over $100,000, but it wasn't under 50,000, something in between, right?
Yeah.
It was all cash on the coffee table, and it was morning. I was staying at the Shangri-La Hotel at the executive suite. And then I ordered room service that morning, right? And then so I still remember what I ordered: big breakfast, had an orange juice, and I ordered a long black. All right, so I ordered the room service, and I get a knock on the door. So I put a sheet, like a bed sheet, over the coffee table to cover the cash.
Yeah.
And I'm walking up to the door to open it, and the door just swings open, and like, get the fuck on the ground, First thing that goes through our mind: this isn't what I fucking ordered.
So
I ordered a long black. I got guys in black wearing masks and balaclavas, right, coming in machine guns. That's what I got. And then the second thing is, oh shit, I'm getting robbed.
yeah.
you know. So
So part of you thought, oh, maybe it isn't the cops for a second.
bro, they were wearing balaclavas,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you know how shit goes down in the game, right? Like
Yeah.
you get there's jackings all the time.
Yeah.
So I've thrown the cash everywhere from the coffee table. I beeline to the door. I get a machine gun to the side of the head, and I hear the words, "You're under arrest. This is the police." I'm like,
fuck.
fucking everything's in slow mo. Probably because I had a machine gun to the side of the head.
Yeah.
And then there's like literally cash all on the floor. And then I'm looking at the floor to ceiling window of the hotel room. I'm getting hogtied, and I see this view of the Sydney Harbour Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. And you know why this was so iconic for me? So my mum came to Australia as a student, as an opera singer.
Wow.
So she used to always take me to the opera house as a kid, and I never like understood the whole beauty of everything because I just took it for granted, right?
Yeah.
And she's struggling, obviously, musician, student, and not everyone becomes a famous opera singer, right? But at that moment, I was looking at the harbour.
And it was one of your last views while you were a free man.
It
right?
was so beautiful what I was looking at. And then exactly, that was my last view of freedom before I got locked up. I got sentenced to 13 years in prison, mate.
It shows how screwed up and normalized shit was when you're having these guys raiding your room and you're thinking of a joke like, this isn't what I ordered. You know? It's funny. Fuck. So then you got sentenced to 13 years. I mean, fuck, man. It's pretty wild if you were running a syndicate at the age of 21. Like, how many years did it go from you beginning that to growing to being to running it?
So it was like progression since I was young.
Yeah.
So from primary school, you know, like when I was really young, my biological father left me, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't want anything to do with me. And man, I was one pissed off kid. And one pissed off kid without any male role models in his life or male father figure in his life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a Korean background, South Korean background, and we in our culture we learn how to kick before we can walk. So I was a junior black belt in primary school.
Fuck.
Right. So I've gone to all the like the training, you know, the training camps in South Korea, and there's full bashu and stuff, you know. So I was hardened little kid, and then I was angry as well. And when I hit high school, you know, I got into a lot of fights because I was one angry kid.
You felt like you had something to prove?
Yeah. No, I just came, like a lot of kids from broken households, like they naturally gravitate towards each other. And, you know, I was just this angry kid, and then the local gang picked me up, you know, and then they started doing small amounts of, you know, selling drugs here, picking stuff up, going and, you know, smashing up shop fronts and stuff like that. And then, you know, then turn into, you know, taking a little bit of coke or whatever drugs into different states. And I was taking all the risk, you know, and the turnaround point for me was, this was when I just turned 18. I was doing a drop-off. I was doing a kilo of coke drop-off to interstate. I ended up getting kidnapped, right, by the other guys because they owed, our group owed money to them. And they ordered a ransom, like pay our money back, right? And I'm sitting in this garage getting fucking bashed and tortured.
So you're a hostage.
Yeah, and then they're calling saying, your boy's here. None of them wanted to come and get me and stuff. And they said to me, oh, it just goes to show that your brothers really love you. They just let me go. You know, and I was just like, fuck this. I'm not taking the risk for guys that don't even have my back, you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up venturing on my own.
And that was what, fucking at age 18?
So 18, so yeah. And then my first start was when I went to schoolies, right, at 18.
Yeah.
And we took up like 500 pills, right? Literally in the first hour, 500 pills were gone. I was like,
holy shit.
Oh my God. So the next year, I ticked 30,000 tablets off a guy that I knew. And he goes, you know, if anything goes wrong, if shit goes sideways, he goes, you know, your head's on the line.
Yeah.
So I made sure nothing happened. So I took up 30,000 tablets, pills to Gold Coast schoolies a week before schoolies started.
Yeah.
And literally in like 5 or 6 days, it was gone.
Wow.
I was like, this is some crazy shit, you know. And because you're at that age and you know everyone and everyone's there, schoolies. Yeah. Literally, my way of operating was, I'll give you 10 pills, sell all 10, I'll give you 3 for free.
Yeah.
And every kid wanted to do it. No one's got money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I got my start. And then all the festivals and all that kind of stuff. That's what came after.
I found like not only was I addicted to drugs myself, but I was also I was addicted to dealing. Right, I
Yeah.
found that I was addicted to the thrill of being the guy to hook people up. Did you just like being the guy?
Look, I like, you know what, because like I said, I've never had that sense of belonging or acceptance
Yeah.
from a father figure.
Yeah.
And when I was selling drugs, the older guys would be like, "Oh, you're doing good," and also I just love being off my face all the time.
Yeah.
Which isn't a really good combination when
No.
you're selling drugs. So, literally, like, I'll start on the Thursday afternoon
Yeah.
in Sydney, and I'll wake up on a Sunday morning, and I'll be looking out the window, and I'm like, why is there a fucking beach? I'm in the Q1 building, and I don't have no memory of how I got there.
Were you doing pills yourself, or were you doing coke? What
No,
were
I
you-
wasn't doing much coke.
Yeah.
So, pills was my thing. I love
Yeah.
getting off my head. Like
Yeah.
I said, I was an angry kid.
Yeah.
I needed an outlet, and
Yeah.
for me, that it's a great feeling when you're on
Yeah.
MDMA.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. So I got caught with magic mushrooms, acid, MDMA, ketamine, and cocaine. I was like, that's really a guy that likes
Yeah.
the party.
To party. Yeah.
Guy that likes all of his drugs. So all right. So you got arrested. You got sentenced to 13 years.
13 on top, 9 on the bottom.
13, and you did 9.
Yeah.
And that was for running a criminal conspiracy. Was that the?
So it was for 2 times large commercial supply, like same as you, 2 times large
Yep.
commercial supply of
Yep.
MDMA and ecstasy.
Yep.
And I got done as a syndicate leader.
Yeah. Okay. And so, where was the first prison you got taken to?
Parkley.
Parkley.
Yeah.
And you're 21.
21. I just turned 21.
I mean, how did that feel?
Dude, like, to be honest with you, like, it was one of the most intimidating moments. Like, I've been around crime and stuff my whole life,
Yeah.
but that's next level, right? Like,
Yeah.
when you first come in, just for the viewers, just to understand the process. Back when I was there, they first keep you in Surrey Hills, and you see everyone bronzing themselves, going nuts because
Explain what bronzing is. Because I talk about it on the stage, the comedy scene, but I don't think a lot of people listening to a podcast know.
yeah. So it's. I'll tell you the story, right? So me and my colleague, we walk into this cell. They put us in this like glass tank, right? And you can see you're in like a kind of hallway, and so everything's all like glass. So you're in like glass cages, pretty much, right? And when we walked into our glass cage, there was this one dude had his back to us, lying on his side, and he did not move for 3 days.
Fuck.
And I literally
Was he alive?
At one point, I went and kicked him to see if he was alive.
Yeah.
And he kind of grunted. So I was like, oh, okay,
man.
he's still alive. All good. Probably think he's probably coming off the drugs, whatever. And then later we found out he's been in there for 2 weeks, right? And then so my co and I were just like, I don't know, we were just having a chat. And all of a sudden, this guy gets up and goes to the bathroom. And we're like, all right, we'll give him some privacy. And we turned around. Next thing you know, I hear this guy going, "Rah," making some weird noise. I was like, what the fuck's going on? He had a pile of shit, his own feces, in his hand, started rubbing it on his face, on the wall. And me and my colleague were hugging each other, going, get the fuck away from us. We're like, Chief, help.
Did he try and come near you?
Yeah, he tried to come near us.
Oh,
and we're like,
fuck
you come
that.
near us, we're going to fucking bash you.
Oh, man. Fuck.
So that was my first experience of Surrey Hills.
Yeah. Wow.
And then
welcome to jail.
Yeah,
eh?
welcome to jail.
Yeah.
And then that's not jail, right?
Yeah.
That's just the entree to jail, right?
Yeah.
Then they ship you off to Parkley, and in Parkley, they first put you in the detox unit, and then they put you in another unit where it's like, when you buy fish, buy new fish to put into the tank, they put you in that, they put in the bag to just like acclimatize the temperature, and then they put the fish into the main fish tank.
Yep.
So it's like that unit. So you're just there, all the freshies have just come in, and you stay there for about a week, and then move into the main section, right?
Yep.
So as I was going to the main section, that was the most intimidating thing. Like, they're fucking grown-ass men with like bloody tattoos all over their face. Everyone's buffed up as hell, and everyone's training in there. And it's just the environment, or just the aura, that feeling you get.
Yeah.
And there's just barbed wires everywhere. And when you first go in, they take you to the non-working unit. And all the units and like all the wings are segregated by races. And when I went there during that time, it was really heavily dominated by different races, different wings. So the non-working wing was run by the Muslims, the Middle Easterns, and the Kuris. And then the working wing, which I can't get to yet, that's where all the Asians are. And kind of like, whatever race you belong to, like they kind of open up the doors and you hang with them. It just naturally goes like that. And this unit that I went to, prison politics, there's 2 phones in the yard.
Yeah.
One phone is dominated by the Middle Easterns. The other phone is dominated by the Kuris. If you're any other race, you can't use that phone.
Yeah, fuck.
So what do you do? Right?
Yeah, when you want to talk to your loved ones.
Yeah, exactly. So I needed to call my lawyer.
Got to fight just for the right to use your phone.
Exactly. I need to call my lawyer. So one day, I went, fuck this. I went on. I was like, there was like a period of time when the Kuris weren't actually going on the phone all the time. So I was like, this is my opportunity. So I actually jumped on the phone, and I'm on the phone making my calls. Literally about 2 minutes in, I get a tap on the shoulder. So I just like pretend I'm not. I'm just gonna ignore it.
Yeah.
Next thing, I get a shirt over my head. I'm getting laid into. Right.
Fuck.
You're not gonna tackle no background. I roundhouse kicked this guy. He got knocked out.
Fuck.
And then the next thing you know, it's like all the boys are running in, the screws are coming in, and they're like, no, it's okay, it's okay. And then the muster bell goes off, right? So the whole jail is now watching this commotion, right? And the muster bell goes off for lunch, and we get locked in for an hour of lunch, right? So I'm inside my cell. You just hear everyone screaming out the window, "You're fucking dead, cunt, when you come out." Everyone's banging on man, that was the most intimate. This is my first week in.
Yeah.
And the banging, there was like a riot going on. I said, "When you come out, we're going to kill ya." I'm just like, oh, fuck. All right, icing on top of the cake, right? So the Asian boys from the other unit have heard what happened, right? One of their own kind is about to get killed. So the sweeper is someone who hands out the meals and like cleans the units so they don't get locked in over lunchtime, right? This sweeper comes and knocks on my door. He goes, "This is from the boys from the other yard." Hands me something underneath the door, right? A shank is an understatement. It was a fucking samurai sword.
Fucking
It
hell.
was this big piece of metal sharp thing, right? And I'm like, now even panicking even more.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I going to do with this, right? And my cellmates now G'ing me up as well, bro, like start strapping newspapers and magazines around your body, just in case you get stabbed. And I'm just going, oh my God, I just came in for a week. Now I'm going to go in for murder.
And they think they're doing this really generous gesture for you by hooking you up with this fucking machete.
Anyway, so now it's like I'm looking at the time, go, oh my God, lunchtime's nearly over. I gotta go. I gotta face the music. I'm shitting balls right now, right? Anyway, just all of a sudden the officers come in. I was like, oh shit, they're gonna open all the doors. I'm fucked, right? And the superintendent, the two-pipper, comes along and he goes, "Pack your shit. You're going next door."
Yeah. Fuck.
And all the while, I've got newspapers and magazines wrapped around me with this samurai sword in my pants. I'm like, "Yes, chief."
Yeah, get me the fuck out of here.
So the delegate from the other unit has gone, "Look, there's going to be dramas if you don't move them right now." So they've just, out of security, they've moved them over. So
And possibly saved your life.
yes.
Yeah, fuck,
yeah.
man.
That was my first week of prison, mate.
I mean, I'm hoping it got better after the first week. So this was when you were in remand, right?
Yeah.
So how long were you in remand at Parklea for?
So I was back and forth, Parklea, Lithgow, Long Bay. So I kept on doing that round. So there's always like some sort of like circuit that you guys go on.
Yeah, how many weeks were you at each one at a time?
Like I was in a good, like decent time, like over, like, some of them like 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good because I knew some guys that were in remand for like 2 years and they were getting moved around like every 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah,
and I was like, that would do my head in.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
you don't have time to like get to
Settle
know.
down.
You don't get to get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
It would just be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So how long were you in remand for before you got sentenced?
So 2 years.
Yeah.
Before I got sentenced.
Yeah.
up until then, like still I had this kind of like young mind. It's like, okay, well, I'm in jail now. This is part of my life, just getting involved with all the jail politics. And after a while, like you get desensitized to everything. You've seen that many stabbings and all that kind of stuff. Like, it got to the point where I'm playing cards in the yard and a fight breaks off. I don't even look around. I don't even look back. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is part of life, right? And, it happens to everyone. It's just the natural environment. You get desensitized to it,
Yeah.
When it first happens, you're like, oh my God, who's fighting? And,
You feel on edge.
yeah, but
then,
after that, you just like, yeah, whatever, part of life. And then, to be honest with you, the one thing that kept me positive in such a negative environment was my ability to be able to train every day, So that's where I focused all my energy, As there are different types of inmates when you look in the yard. This is from my observation.
Yep.
In the yard, you got guys who gamble all day, you got guys who chase drugs all day, and you got guys who train all day.
Yep.
I chose the latter. So I was using fitness as a positive way out, and my business now, our motto is train to be free.
Yep.
Because whenever I used to train, my mind was free, even though my body was incarcerated.
Yeah.
So that stuck by me.
And also, I found from training in the yard, it just settled me. Like I think the release of endorphins, it made me so much more relaxed about my situation. And then when you get locked back up for the evening, you don't. I felt more at peace mentally.
And did you find like the guys that you used to train with, like they're always in a positive like kind of mindset? Like you have a training session, you're always having a laugh with the boys and stuff like that.
You're having a laugh, and it's also, it's just it felt like something that brought you all together. To stay motivated with each other, right? So there was this mateship stuff to it that guys encourage each other, to
100%.
push with an extra rep to when they were tired, wanted to give up, like to just do a bit longer. So you find that it kind of built friendships and relationships. And you also, I noticed like there were guys who I guess were too shy, or they were self-conscious about their body, that wouldn't train, that didn't want to train, but they'd be encouraged to do it by guys that really support them to do it. I found that there was that really supportive nature in the yards I was in, particularly like there wasn't that judgment for guys that weren't sure about it.
Yeah, 100%. I've got so many guys that never trained before, and I go, hey, you want to come and train? And we encourage them. And you know what? And it's good for everyone's mental health. Like, for me to be around so many like-minded, positive people who are disciplined, and we get to have a yarn and have a laugh, and you become really close, right? And the reason why also I started this business, which is a social enterprise, is the fact that one of the guys in our group, he ended up getting out and literally came back in like 2 months, not even 2 months later, he came back into our same training group. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Do you love jail? Or why'd you come back, you know? You got the opportunity to change your life around. And what he said to me really hit me in the heart, And he goes, I couldn't hold down a job. He's like, I want to change. I want to be different. But society does not accept us. People like us. And that really resonated with me, going, shit, because I could see myself becoming the same thing, Like, I've got no family support here. Mum lives back in Korea now. I've got no siblings. The only friends that I know are the ones that are still in the game. Who else do I know? I'm an uneducated kid.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it so hard when the only people you know or kind of relate to are either guys who are still active criminals or people that have just gotten out of prison, right? You can see why so many guys get into a cycle of continuing to do it. When I was walking around the yard talking to guys, I was like, fuck, like, this has opened my eyes so much. There's no way I'm going to come back. And the other guys, some of them believe me, but a lot of them would grin and say, yeah, we'll see, right? And I said, well, how can you come back after experiencing this? And one of them said with a grin, he goes, you forget, right? That you get out and you go back and try and live a normal life, but you forget what prison was like somehow, that the memory isn't lasting forever. And I feel like that is easier to forget if you start thinking you need to make shortcuts because you can't find your way to fit into the world.
It gets deeper than that, A lot of people are like, oh, yeah, they've done their time, they should have learned their lesson, but we know that, that whole thing of punishment, locking inmates up, it doesn't work. In Australia, with adults, the recidivism rate. So for viewers who don't know what recidivism means, it's like the rate of reincarceration.
Yep.
It's 54%. That's a failure rate.
Yeah.
With young kids, it's 84% in Australia.
In a yard of 80 people at Long Bay, I think I was one of 2 people out of 80 that was in prison for my first time.
Wow.
Yeah. So like everyone was in there for the second, third, fourth, fifth time, and so that's when it really you start to open your eyes. Like, holy fuck! Like this becomes a cycle, and you notice, like, as fucked up as it sounds, guys get good at jail. Like, they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're wearing.
It's like a skill, right?
Like, like guys have got better sneakers than you. They've got clothes that you can't buy on any clothes buy up. That means that they had to be wearing it. Like when they either handed themselves in or got arrested because it was green, they're allowed to wear it. And you're like, fuck, these guys look cool in jail. I was thinking like,
although you know what, we were having a laugh about this, right?
Yeah.
But when COVID hit, I shit you not, this is the one time where being incarcerated was classified as a skill. And I'll talk to you about that. So when COVID hit and everything went into lockdown, all the fitness business started regressing, right? Overnight, we became the experts in confined space bodyweight training. companies like Google and Atlassian were hitting us up, going, "Can you please run workshops for employees on how to handle being incarcerated?" And I was just scratching my head, going, "How the fuck? We live in a time where inmates have now become experts."
Suddenly you're the mental health guru. That's wild. But it's true. It's also like here's the weird thing for me. I was pretty much locked up the exact same time as the lockdown in Sydney, and people were locked in their houses. They couldn't leave, and people are having a lot of mental health issues from being so isolated. I was in prison playing inter-prison touch footy comps. Right? And I was like, actually, like, I can be more social in jail right now than you can in the real 100%. World. That's how crazy it was.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But that totally makes sense. That suddenly you were an expert in that stood out as a unique expert for a unique problem to the world. Just happened to be in.
Yeah,
right?
man. I was running Zoom sessions. I was running Zoom sessions from the living room, and people were like, "I don't have enough space." I was like,
"That's okay."
You know what? If that looks like a prison cell, you've got enough space, and I'll show you how to train.
Yeah.
It's all body weight, and it's like kind of like we were able to market ourselves in the right way.
That's amazing. I never thought about that, but yeah, of course. Like suddenly, who can teach us about
incarceration? Well, we do. Yeah, man.
So, you tell me about that pathway from you being locked up to first getting involved with training with guys in the yard. Did it happen straight away, or was it something that you eventually kind of expressed interest into other guys in the yard and then started training?
Yeah, man. Look, I was always into fitness, a little bit of gym here and there, but I had a martial arts background.
Yep.
So I went to jail, and all these old guys that they used to be ex-pro boxers and amateur boxers, kickboxers, and I was like, oh, I want to learn from them.
Yeah.
And then you learn a bit of that, then you learn a little bit about calisthenics and I was intrigued, like, how do boys get so big in jail when there's not that much food, right? The food's shit, right?
Yeah.
And you do your food.
Wow.
your food gig, right? I watch it all the time.
My food reviews,
You make your food reviews, right?
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, guys, watch it. It's hilarious.
But the thing is, you're right. A lot of the food I thought tasted okay, but the servings are so small, and you get served at fucking 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And so you eat it, and then you're hungry again an hour later.
Yeah.
Right?
So I understood why inmates got so big, right, in jail. And it's not like they're not ripped big, but they put good size on. And, guys, you see the bulky guys, with a bit of water retention and stuff like that. So I looked into it. So the key components are, if you don't have resistance, a formal resistance of training, as if weights or something like that, it's done through high volume. So body weight, other people assisting using their body weight, bottles, and it's high repetitions, so high volume, high intensity, and it's consistency every day. And when you grow is when you sleep. inmates have a lot of time to sleep, you know.
Yeah.
Like so I was sleeping so much, my fucking back was hurting. Yeah.
Well, the beds aren't that comfortable.
Yeah,
so.
and you're packing in the calories,
Yeah,
right? So the
yeah.
noodles, you're eating all the noodles, the rices, like the breads, you're putting in calories, you're bulking from that, and the protein. Like, there's not many sources of protein, but I was going to extreme lengths because all the guys were doing so. I had a prison protein shake. I don't know if you've had one of those. There are many forms, but I'll tell you the one that I had, right? So canned sardines with milk, with egg powder, a little bit of honey, and you shake that up, and I just drank it. I started eating food for sustenance,
That
not for
sounds
flavor.
horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was. But in my mind, it's all for growth, man, and that's a part of discipline, man.
I had a guy offer me grog that he'd made out of fucking like cornflakes and some fruits, and that tasted horrible as well, right?
But I'll tell you a funny story about grog, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta, like I said, you know, inmates are ingenious with the creativity, right? But you know what they're also good at? Collaboration, right? When there's a common good.
Good
right?
teamwork, yeah.
Yeah, good collaboration. And no matter, even if they're warring races, whatever, but when it comes to a common good that everyone believes in, everyone bands together, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one story. So every festive season before Christmas and New Year's, right? You know, the squad comes around to do a big sweep of the units to look for contraband and alcohol and like whatever, right? So they come more frequently just before Christmas, because the drugs are coming in because everyone wants to party. So a couple of weeks before that, the whole wing was in on it, right? Of making alcohol, right? Home brew. And there was this one guy who was the best at making it, right?
What would he make it out of?
So apples, like fruits, jams. So for the yeast, you know, he's using Vegemite, and you know, Vegemite's got yeast in it, and the brown bread in a sock. And anyway, he's made shit tons of it in a wheelie bin, right?
Amazing.
So he's got 2 wheelie bins full of pretty much alcohol, but then they put rubbish bags on top of it just to cover it up. And every day the sweepers would take the bin out to the main bin area, empty out the bins, and bring the empty bins back. But what the sweepers will do was they'll take all the bins out, leave those bins full, and bring it back. So it's like just doing maneuvers all the time.
Yeah.
The whole wing was always watching for these 2 bins because they knew what was in there.
It's so impressive as a team effort, right?
It was a team effort, and this is the funny part, right? So there was one day when the squad came into the yard, everyone had to line up, and they ran the sniffer dogs through everyone, and there was this one fucking officer. He kept on going through the bins and stabbing the bins. And we're like, fuck, and he's like literally taking the bins out, seeing what's underneath, and we're like, everyone's just got the corner of their eye looking and go, oh fuck. There goes our fucking grog, right? Yeah. Anyway, and he goes from one bin to the next bin. He's getting to our bin, right? And he's like literally one bin away. All of a sudden, one of the blokes, he just fucking drops dead and has a seizure and starts frothing. He's like having a seizure, and everyone's like, Chief, he's having an epileptic fit. And everyone's coming into his aid. You all right? And like, bro, I saw that. I was inside. I was on the floor in stitches, but outside, everyone was just cool. But
trying not to react.
Everyone was feeling the safety in that moment.
And did it save the day? Did you get to have the grog?
We all got smashed. That's
a feel-good story.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, everyone got huge rice cooker bowls, like full of, it was, man, we went in, we get locked in at 3:30. By the time Home and Away was on, I was out.
Fucking hell.
That was some good times. Yeah.
See, like, that's just about people coming together, right?
Yeah.
That's funny as fuck. I mean, all the yarns I went in, there was mostly just guys doing bupe and fucking ice, and a couple of guys with grog, but nothing like that. It's interesting when you're talking about these older fellas that are great at boxing and that kind of stuff. I found that's obviously something which taps into what you're doing now, which is that a lot of these guys like have leadership skills, and when they're encouraged to do something, they're actually good teachers, right? But they've gone down the wrong path. They haven't found a way to do something purposeful in their lives. But now you're helping guys that have been locked up to say, hey, if you just skill up in these areas, you can be that person as a job. You can make a career out of that to train people and see value in yourself and add value, right? I mean, how did that start from? I guess you starting with your own business and then developing it out to have this program where you're mentoring others.
Yeah. So look. So the fitness component was obviously we were always good at fitness in jail. And remember I told you how, that guy that was training in our group, he came back and it made me think, like that can happen to me. Yeah. So it's like I was really scratching my head going, well, what can I do to kind of break down that society's negative stereotyping on former inmates and, so society can accept us when we come out or me when I come out. Yeah. And at the same time, what can I do to do what I love doing, which is fitness, right? So the idea of Confit started while I was in jail, right? Yeah. But another component to that was, I run a not-for-profit called Confit Pathways, where we have those fitness trainers from Confit to go into youth justice centers to mentor young people. And I'll tell you how that came about. So it was about halfway through my prison sentence, and I've seen all the fucking shit. And it was, man, prison life was looking pretty ugly. And my future wasn't looking too great either, Like
what prison were you at this time?
That was when I was at John Maroney. So it was Windsor 1. Yeah. It was back then. It was a young offender unit, so 18 to 25-year-olds, right? So I was there and I was reading this book. I wanted to change my life around because I was actually looking around the unit. No one was educated. Everyone does. A lot of people do come from a background or childhood trauma or a lot of disadvantage, but most of the people, like the majority of people, weren't educated, including myself, right? Yeah. Then I went to Lithgow jail, right? I got moved to Lithgow jail, Maxo, and I was reading this book one day called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know if you read it, right?
I know the book. I haven't read it.
Inside the book, in the book, it goes, I was reading the book. In the book, it goes, accounting is a language of business. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I know a little bit about illegitimate business, right? Let's go learn about this new language, this legitimacy, right? So I went to the prison library, got myself a first-year accounting textbook. And as soon as I opened it up, I looked at these formulas. And I'm like, I must be the dumbest Asian in the world. I'm missing some
These numbers aren't numbering for me.
Missing some sort of chromosome because all I'm seeing is hieroglyphics right now.
Why were you in Maxo for your charges?
So I started off as an A1. Yeah. So during remand, I'm going in and out. Yeah. Then I had allegations, which they sent me back to Maxo as a B classer, but I was there in Maxo as a B classer. Okay. Yeah, with all the Maxo inmates. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Anyway, so I opened up this textbook and, I'm just going, I'm going to give up. I can't do this. Yeah. But call it fate or call it luck, that same exact day, right? This guy walks into the unit where we were, right? This Caucasian guy, this big dude had a black eye and a busted up lip because the word in the yard was that this guy was a billionaire accountant who'd come into prison for Australia's largest tax fraud, right? Yeah. So he used to be a partner at one of the big four accounting firms. He made his money through mining and had his pharmaceutical company, right? And shit went sideways for him as well. Yeah. And he ended up in jail, right? Anyway, so everyone's out to extort this guy. All I heard was the word accountant when everyone's hearing the word billionaire, right? So I approached the dude and I said, hey, man, I got a business proposition that you can't refuse. Yeah. And I went, teach me accounting every day. Yeah. And I'll give you the protection with me and all the boys. No one will lay a finger on you. And you should have seen the look that he gave me. He goes, what kind of fucking hustle are you trying to play on, man?
Must have looked at you like you're crazy. Everyone else wanted money and you just wanted some fucking accounting lessons. He's probably thinking, oh shit, this guy's trying to pull some moves on me or something. But look, put it this way, he ended up becoming my cellmate. Yeah. And not only did he keep his end of the bargain and teach me accounting every day, but he taught me about business, he taught me about the value of education, and most importantly, he taught me about self-worth. And I needed that feeling, right? Because of him, I ended up doing my HSC in jail, right? Yeah. And it's ironic how I had to go to prison to find my first ever positive mentor, right?
So
you're friends with him as well?
yeah. So I'm actually going to go visit him next week. He's still inside.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I was going to ask you that if you're still in touch.
Yeah, he's still inside.
Fuck.
Yeah, he got 9.5 with like 11.5 on top. Yeah, he
for
got
financial
for a
crime.
year.
Wow.
Yeah, well, when you get to that level, I
Yeah.
reckon there's a lot more shit going on, you
Yeah.
know, that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, he really encouraged me to do my HSC in jail, and fast forward, you know, like a year and a half later or 2 years later, sitting in Wellington jail. So they moved me all the way to Wellington. This screw walks up to me, right? He hands me this letter and he goes, "Joe, I don't know how the fuck you did it, but you bloody did it." So out of curiosity, literally I took that letter, took it into my cell, right? And I opened it up. And as I opened it up, it goes, "Congratulations, you've been accepted into the University of New South Wales." And, you know, even when I got sentenced and through all that bullshit that I went through in jail, you know, I didn't even shed a tear because, you know, I accepted all the consequences of my actions. But when I read that letter, you know, I literally in that cell, I was holding onto that letter, fucking bawling my eyes out because no one will understand the feeling of freedom that I was feeling in that moment because the work that I put in to get there, right? And later on, I realized that education not only gave me hope, but it set me free, you know. And today, you know, we go back into youth justice centers to help young people to feel that same sense of freedom and hope for when they get out because we provide an outlet for them. You know, we motivate them, we encourage them, we help them to get employed when they get out with all our employment partners. We've got that community network for them through fitness. And we also have a partnership now. So as I graduate, I leave my legacy behind UNSW. Now UNSW provides full scholarships to young people who are doing their HSC. So they don't have to pay a cent for their degree, and they get campus accommodation because a lot of these talented young kids who we mentor inside go back into those negative areas. A lot of them come from criminal families and they spiral back into the system. So we want to plug them out and put them into a new positive environment.
It must have really just opened your eyes, like about the potential that you had inside you that you hadn't taken advantage of until that
didn't
time.
know.
Yeah,
I didn't know, and it's, you know, it just took one guy to show me, to make me believe in myself. You know, yeah.
And then how long after that did you get out of prison?
So after that was literally, I was right on the last legs because when I got accepted, I deferred. I deferred for 2 years. So it was like 2 years before I got out pretty much.
Yeah. And then what did you study?
Bachelor of Commerce.
Bachelor
I
of
started in accounting and I was like, why the fuck am I paying to fall asleep in every lecture? So I dropped that. So I'm graduating with a marketing and a management major.
And you'd had a tutor at accounting, right, for so long in prison, right? Like,
Yeah. I know the concepts, but
Yeah.
I just don't want to make a living out of it. It's just like so
Yeah.
dull, yeah.
And so what were you doing for work then when you were studying?
So when I first came out,
Yeah.
literally about 2 months, I had 2 months before I started uni in February.
Yeah.
So I was working in construction, saving up money.
Yeah.
And then when I started uni, I was running like illegal boot camps. It was like no tax, just give me cash. I didn't know how to run a business. I'm just getting like bunch of friends to bring their friends. I'm like, right, I'm going to train you, running group camps. Just give me like $20,
Yeah.
all cash. And numbers started getting big after a while.
Really?
Right. And someone goes, man, you should actually take this seriously, you know? And then they helped me to get a payment gateway and like build this like bodgy website up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was at uni first year taking this subject called creating social change, right? So it's all about, you know, not-for-profits and social enterprises, how businesses can actually help to make society a better place. It was one of those subjects. It was a core commerce subject.
Yeah.
And I remember the lecturer in charge was talking about, you know, recidivism rates in Australia, about disadvantage and about prisons. And I was like, fuck, I know all this shit. So I went and reached out to the lecturer after the lecture. I was like, hey, nice lecture, by the way. I just came out of Long Bay Jail. I just want to give you some, I just want to get some pointers off you. And she was looking at me with this horrified face. She's like, are you even a student in my class?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm a first year student. And I told her that about this concept of convict fitness that I had in my mind. So she introduced me to this organization called Center for Social Impact, which is based at UNSW.
Yeah.
So they're like a bunch of MBA students. So they put my business idea as a case study.
They must have loved you. Right?
It was a case study that they formed into the social enterprise that Confit is today.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so it actually started from university.
Because, I mean, they'll be sitting there looking for a problem like yours, right? Something where you can see that there's a real problem and there's a guy here that is a driving force behind it, and there's there's a benefit, right? So a social enterprise, from my understanding, is it's an enterprise that is out there in the world trying to do good, but it's also self-sustainable through its own growth, right? It doesn't require donations. Is that
so
the
that's what we
basic
did. Like
understanding of it?
technically, like it's not legally bound, but in America, I think in England as well, they give about 50% back to the social cause.
Yeah.
Because without doing, I know there are some organizations that go, oh, we're going to give 100% back, and they shoot themselves in the foot because they can't grow.
Yeah.
So the other 50% gets put back into the business to grow, and the other 50% is put into the social cause. You know, so I run the not-for-profit as well, where we have, we're running these programs, and it's not that you're competing against like grants, and there's so many not-for-profits out there going for the same space, going for the same cause, and you're always like competing against these grants and stuff. So you're not always
that have similar programs to yours.
not similar programs, but they're working with young people.
Yeah,
you know.
So maybe not fitness, but other
other avenues of helping young people, right? And you go, and the grants are very vague, but they go, it's for maybe programs for young people or regional, or like they give this criteria, and then you go, okay, well, I think I could tick these boxes, and you've got like 100 other organizations going for the same thing.
But do they have people running it that also have a criminal background like you? Because I feel like that's a huge, unique piece, right, that you've got. Which is when you're going in there and running these programs, you're talking to guys, you're not talking to them from above them. You're saying, I was you, right?
Yeah. So we're the only organization that I know of in Australia that is running lived prison experience mentors, and the organization has been started and is run by former inmates.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's everything's through lived experience. It's all from the heart. You know, and we started to get a lot of good traction now since like few organized or big names have done the due diligence, and now everyone's like, right, they're not going to take our money now, you know?
Yeah. Well, mate, if you've said you've been working with people like Atlassian, right?
It took a while. It took a while to get that trust.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine there's been some hard bits of that where has there been some pushback at all where people have said like
no one wanted to give us money. Like even like when we're going for our Australian charity, so we've got our DGI1 status and we're registered Australian charity, and you have to have a board, and we had 3 inmates or former inmates sitting on the board, and like they were like, ACNs, you're like, what do you mean you got 3 ex-inmates sitting on the board? And we took ages of, we were like, what we want to push for, we wanted to come from people who had that lived experience. We got that up and, running, and, going for our first grant was like the biggest hurdle. But once people started hearing about us, the story of what we're trying to do, and, everyone was talking about us because it was like so unique, having inmates going back into jail pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And, we've got some big backings now, Westpac's backing us,
All the guys on the board were in there for financial crime, though. They're really good at cooking the books. Like, that's why you can trust us.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And so with the people, what about just the general punters that have trained with Confit, right? There must be a combination between liking the idea of the business of training with the ex-convicts because they get behind the idea of them rehabilitating themselves, but also the idea that the fitness program works because these guys get really fit in prison following these principles, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just tell me, a bit about that, about what the anecdotal feedback you must get from people that are like, hey, this is why do I choose this Confit?
People love, like, people who are into training, they love just being fucked up. feeling fucked up at the end of the session.
And
and you got some stand-up guys running some funny jokes, saying some funny like jail stuff, and people like, what?
give me 20 or I'll stab you.
No, we have in the past gone like, I said, don't fucking drop or I'm gonna shoot you. I'm fucking serious. And they're looking at me going, what? I'm like, I'm fucking serious. And I pulled out my water pistol and I started squirting them with my water pistol, So like, it's just like, we're just like stand up guys. What I really wanted these people to see was we're not all hardened criminals, We've got some hardened criminal stories because we were living in that environment.
Yeah.
But we're not.
But it doesn't have to be who you are forever.
But I tell you, even you agree, in jail, there are some people that shouldn't be let out.
Yeah.
There's some, even there's some bad people, but there's more bad people out in society than there are in prison.
Yeah.
It's like the minority are really bad. The majority of just people who, like found themselves in a really, really, shit spot, or like, they grew up in a certain way, it's just their upbringing, and they're not bad people.
No, I didn't really see much in terms of evil in there.
No.
I just saw a lot of like lost souls and a lot of guys that I thought came from such shitty upbringings that it felt like they were always going to end up in there.
Yeah.
Which is why I felt like more of a cockhead, because I was, I came from a good family and a great education, and I threw it all away because I just was an idiot, right? But it just opened my eyes that like a lot of these guys, it was just always on the cards for them. But that doesn't define that they're bad people. They just need to be given an outlet that they believe in to be positive.
Yeah, 100. And I swear, the things that what you're doing with your podcast now, with your comedy, and it's just a great angle to kind of show society that as well. Like, it's all about, at the end of the day, just give some opportunities. Some people will really thrive, if they get offered that opportunity, but a lot of people can't get it, and they've been trodden on that much, and they're like, I want to make that change, and they get trodden on again. They're like, fuck it, let's just do this for the rest of our life.
I think guys that have been involved with your program that push back that it's too hard for them to be involved with, or they don't get what you're trying to do.
Look, it's all about communication,
Yeah.
right? I've had a lot of arguments with the guys,
Yeah.
And because I expect the best out of everyone, and I expect a certain level, and I don't want everyone, like the boys thinking, or the girls, we've got a female in our group as well, right?
Great.
To go, well, we're just inmates, and no, you can be better than that, and I want to drive that idea into them, but it's just sometimes it's the communication, and I don't want people to look at us because they go, oh, your former inmates will give you the sympathy card. No.
Yeah.
We want to be like everyone else as well, and I feel
Set
like
yourself to a higher standard.
yes,
Yeah.
I want to set that standard for everyone, and it is difficult. It is.
And what about, so you do these programs in juvenile detention and also in prisons? Is
so
that right?
the prisons are asking us to come in.
Yeah.
It just feels like corrective services is a different ballgame. One, we don't have enough resources and teams to go into to service like even like a quarter of the prisons in New South Wales, right? Let alone try to do the whole of Australia.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it is a good starting point, and I feel like we can make the most difference with the young people who are at the cusp of, okay, if they have that one good mentor, like it's either they go this way or that way. And it was like for most of us in the team as well. Like if we had a really, really good mentor when we were growing up, we might not have gone down that path.
Yeah. So which juvenile detention centres do you work with?
We're in every centre except for one.
Yeah.
In New South Wales. So there are 6 in New South Wales. So we're in Reby, Cobham, Frank Baxter, Riverina, and Orana.
And what does that look like as a program? Like how many guys from your team go in?
So most of us go in at the same time.
Yep. How many in your team?
So there are 6 at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah. So
including one female, you said?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we had to find her from Adelaide.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's a funny story to that one, but we were looking high and low in Sydney. We couldn't find anyone. A female who had done prison time, who's into fitness, who's changed her life around, who can speak and mentor, right? and who's not missing 2 front teeth.
I mean, they've got to be out there, right? It's just
I couldn't find any.
mean,
I had to go to Adelaide to find
Wow.
one. Yeah.
Okay. But so there's 6 in the team, and you usually all go in together, and then the program runs how many days a week will you go in?
So we'll run once a week
Yeah.
in each of the Sydney centres, and during the school holidays, so during the school term, we run in Sydney centres. School holidays, we go to the regional centres.
Okay.
So we live out in the regional centre for like the regional areas, so Wagga Wagga, Dubbo. We'll live there for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, just running programs there.
Yeah.
But the goal of what we want to do is to be able to bond with these young people, right? And the whole objective is for them to come out into our community. If all they know is gangs, all right, well, we're a gang, but we're pro-social.
Yeah.
We want to provide you with the best opportunities, and we're doing it through fitness. If we said, hey guys, come and hang with us, no one's going to come. But if you said, come and do a training session with us and we'll just hang, they'll come for the training session at least,
So how many weeks do those normally run for?
9. We do 9-week terms.
Yeah.
9 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we do the graduation.
Yeah.
There's some of them, that's the first ever graduation in their life,
Yeah.
So we make certificates for them, we get presents for them and all that kind of stuff. And then when they come out, we got different industries like hospitality, construction, digital marketing, whatever it may be. And that's where we want to partner up with more organizations who want to give these young people a go.
Yeah.
Right. So while they're getting employed, we guide them through the whole process, because we know that 12 months is the most riskiest of young people going back inside. So we're there to constantly support them and guide them through that process. And for those who want to go to university, so we've got a team of people that actually, when they're at uni, they're on the campus, we're like constantly messaging them, meeting up with them, how are you doing? And if they're good, we'll leave them. If we know if they're good, we'll leave them. It's just the ones that come out and go, we're struggling a little bit.
I think I read that like the guys in juvenile detention that are eligible to be involved with the program have to follow, like they have to be of a certain level of behaviour there to get involved with this, because it's like a privilege.
Yeah,
right?
It's not always behaviour. Like behaviour is one thing, but the biggest thing is non-associations. And the biggest problem at the moment is the whole postcode wars.
Yeah.
It's huge at the moment. Different Sydney areas, they're representing their postcode, not gangs, right? And you can't have people from the same. So when I go run a program in a unit, they're all from the same area. So where are you from? Mount Druitt. Where are you from? Mount Druitt. So who's not from Mount Druitt? They're all from Mount Druitt, but they segregate them into different like postcode areas. It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. These guys like bashing and killing each other over fucking postcodes.
Look, I kind of get it, because when you grow up with nothing and there's nothing to be proud of, right? And the only thing that you can be proud of is your boys from your area. That's it. But we're going in there going, look, we had similarities in jail. We didn't have postcode, but we had race wars.
Yeah.
Right? But the one thing that united us was when we used to train, that really brought different nationalities together. But if we're there to help them to understand that there's the bigger world than just your postcode, there are bigger opportunities than your postcode. And they go, oh, we can make money. What? How much money can you make from stealing cars?
Yeah.
And we show them, we do a cost analysis for them as well. So we always tell them, all right, okay, so
of crime versus not crime.
Yeah, so we literally get the paper out, we do a graph for them and everything, and we help them to visualize it, and we go, right, tell us what's the shittest job you can think of, right? And everyone says Macca's, and I go, I want to rebut that, but let's get back to this. Macca's has the best training, right, for you to develop yourself. But anyway, that's besides the point, right? So I go, okay, let's just say the shittest job you're doing is Macca's, right? Let's just say you're earning minimum wage at Macca's, what, 11, 12 bucks an hour, let's just say, right? All right. So you're laughing at this gronk because he's working at Macca's wearing a funny uniform and a hat, and you're jacking cars and all that kind of stuff. Let's just say, how much do you make from jacking cars? And they're like a couple $1,000s, whatever. And I go, right, so say you have a good few months, right? You've saved up, I doubt you'll save up, but you saved up, let's just say, $10K,
Yeah.
Then you go to jail
Then you get locked
for
up.
2 years. You make nothing.
Yeah.
Who at the long run, at the end of all this, who makes the most? You know, it's just crime economics.
Yeah. I had a guy in my yard at Parkley that was telling me that he can justify jail by if he makes at least 100 grand for every year that he does in prison. Then it works out, and even though that's not what he was making at all, but that was his rationalization.
Yeah.
Like he's prepared to do a year of jail for every 100 grand he could make from crime before he got locked up.
Yeah, but then it's like, what can you put a value on life?
Yeah,
The
that's a
the
shit.
relationships.
Why don't work your ass off and make 100 grand and not be in jail, right? Like, it's
exactly.
not that to me. That wasn't enough. Like that, to justify spending the time locked up. That's not enough money.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe $1 million, then we can talk about it. But fuck, 100 grand. I was like, you can get there's decent jobs you can get as a fucking labourer or a million other things, right?
Well, labourers will make more money.
Yeah.
You know, if you save up,
Yeah.
you're gonna like some labourers make decent money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about so when you got out, where did you have friends that you instantly reconnected with, or was it like was it a different world for you? Because I can't imagine what 9 years you went from a boy at 21 to a man, right?
I learned how to become a man in jail.
Yeah, but you were a different person entirely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone through multiple changes from the ages of 18 to 36.
Yeah.
So I've been a different person, particularly in the last 12 months. I can feel like a completely different person as well. But what was that like for you, just like getting back to being free again?
So literally, you know, I went in before the smartphones. I didn't know what an app was. I didn't get the concept of an app.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? Is it like a website? Like, what do you do? I don't get that. I don't know what an app is, you know? Like, it was frustrating because everything was done through internet banking, and, you know, you had to have like a email set up, which I didn't have. And, you know, all the security codes get sent to emails and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, this whole development of the internet.
man, I had no concept of this stuff, and which was really frustrating. And, you know, I had a few friends that, you know, were really supportive from the beginning, and, you know, but they're all doing their own stuff that they can't really, you know, babysit you the whole time. So it's just you kind of like navigating and figuring stuff out for yourself and making mistakes. And yeah, man, it was just, it was either sink or swim, I guess, you know? So you had to learn quick, right?
Did you feel at all like you missed jail at all? Like, did you feel like you'd gotten so used to a routine of prison?
Yeah. So it was funny because, like, you know, when I first went into jail, right?
Yeah.
I don't, you might have had these moments as well, right?
Yeah.
So you know that split second when you open up your eyes, you think you're in your room at home, right? So for ages I used to do that. I used to open up my eyes in my prison cell. I'd be like, yeah, I'm in my room at home, and I look around and go, fuck, this is reality, right? But when I got out, the opposite happened. It was like I'll wake up and I'll be like, yeah, I'm in my prison cell.
Yeah.
It felt like I was at home, and I was like looking around and going, now it feels everything was foreign to me. I was like, fuck, it wasn't the same house that I used to live in. It was like some random place, and, you know, it was completely opposite. And yeah, it does, you know, I guess I spent more time in jail as a young adult, you know, than I did outside.
I don't know how to describe it. I had this weird feeling where I kind of missed it, prison a bit, because life is very simple in there. Like,
No responsibilities.
yeah, that's it. Right. I just, your job is to just survive each day, right? Whereas then you get out into the real world, and real life is hard. You know, I found jail's easy, real life is hard, and so that's why, like, when I thought I was going to get sentenced to go back, I thought I was going to be going away for years. I wasn't too upset about it, because I was just like, it's dead time. I mean, it's a waste of your life, right?
Yeah.
It's a waste, but it wasn't. I wasn't scared about it. I thought at least I'll get some more jokes out of it. I was like, at least I'll get some more jokes out of it. But yeah, that's interesting just to hear you talk about just that getting back to the real world again. I can't imagine what that would be like after 9 years. Did you find? I mean, are you? Have you got a girlfriend now? Your
Yeah, I
partner?
got a missus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually met her at the bus stop on my works release with my ankle bracelet on.
Fuck off.
Yeah. I haven't seen a woman.
Could she see your ankle bracelet
No.
at the time? Yeah.
I haven't seen a woman in, it was about 8 years by then, so 12 months before I got out.
Yeah.
So from Long Bay, I was doing works release from Long Bay.
Yeah.
And catch a bus, and every second morning this girl will be at the bus stop, right? So all the boys are like elbowing each other, trying to go talk to her. And I remember I used to sit right where the door was, so I'd be first in. So every morning was like kind of like started off with, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning." And, you know Joey Trivia, I know how you doing.
How you doing? Yeah.
So it was like that. She's probably thinking 6 a.m. Who the fuck is this weirdo? You know? But after a while, like, I must have grown on her, and she gave me a number. Then I started packing. I started shitting myself, going, "Fuck, imagine."
Did she know?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Imagine like a caller from the prison phone going, "You're about to receive a phone call from an inmate at Long Bay Correctional Center."
Hey,
She's just gonna be
it's
like,
just me.
What the fuck?" Yeah. So I was literally I was on the construction site.
Yeah.
And I was using one of the blokes' mobile phones, to just like text and stuff, right? And then obviously when I go back, I can't take the mobile phone back, right?
So you just suddenly go radio silent for hours at a time.
So so she messaged me like not long after, goes, "How come you never messaged me after 3:30?" That's when we knock off, right? So I had to go to her, "Look,
here's the thing."
No, I had to go to her, "Look, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm not some like stripper. I don't live under a rock or whatever, right? But if you can guess where I go every night and I can't take my phone there, I'll try to grant you a wish within my powers, right?" Yeah. And then literally in the space of a week, she goes, "Are you from prison?" And she sent me a like love heart eyes emoji. And I was like, "I'm in." I'm fucking in. Yeah. And then like I kind of told her, and then from there, like, she started visiting me. And
so here you were worried it was going to be a massive deal breaker, but she was totally cool with it.
she loved it. Yeah.
Man, you found a real one.
It doesn't matter, like, what you've done in the past. She's seen who I was, like,
It sounds like she was into the fact that you were in prison, right?
I think so. I think there's a lot of women that are into that. Like, not the guys who are still in the game, but a lot of guys who are trying to reform.
A reform bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you guys have been together since then?
Since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys live together?
Live together.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's a feel-good story, right? Because like
these days
you hooked that up while you were still locked up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people go, how'd you guys meet? And I go, "Oh, let me tell you."
I was still in jail. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I had a girl ask me if she could write me when I got locked back up, because I thought I was going back to prison. And then when I got sentenced not to go back, I was like, "Hey, like I'm not like you don't have to write me. Like we can hang out." And she was like, "Oh, like she was."
But your stuff's pretty cool, like how you're dating on bail. But that's not funny shit.
So yeah, that was when I was on house arrest. I couldn't leave the house unless I was in the company of my mum or dad, and they're both in their 70s. And so
So you're taking your mum and dad to your dates.
And they were really supportive of me. They're cool. They've been so supportive of me. But they said, "Andrew, look, if you ever want to go anywhere, just let us know. We can do that." And I had to say, "Well, mum and dad, it's funny you mentioned that because I've lined up a Tinder date." And I'd been straight up to this girl. I said, "Look, we can go on a date, but here's the thing. Like I'm on bail from prison, and I have to bring my 7-year-old parents on the date." And weirdly, that was not a deal breaker. She was totally fine with it. And I said to her, "You must have got on some really shit dates if you're agreeing to go out with me." And she was like, "You have no idea." So that's when I was like, "Okay, the bar of dating in Sydney is so long that you and I can still get dates, right?"
Thank you, society. Oh man.
So tell me some of the other funny shit that happened to you when you were locked up. Are there any kind of ridiculous stories that jump to mind?
Oh man, have you ever heard of spewies?
No, what's that?
I don't know if I'm gonna like gross out the listeners, but look, when you go to jail, there's a breed of inmates called Methadonians. So Methadone is what we refer to people that are on methadone.
Yep. So they'll get taken there every day from the prison wing to go get methadone.
Methadone. For those people who are addicted to heroin and they can't get off the heroin, so they put them on a supplement, which is methadone, which acts as a heroin, but you can't get high off it.
Yep.
So you can't OD off it.
Yep.
Right. So when you go to regional centers, there's like certain guys who are hanging out from drugs, right? But they can't get on the methadone either because they never declared that they were on heroin when they were coming in. So they're just stuck, like they're just hanging out. They want drugs hard.
Yeah.
Then there are some guys who are on the methadone who don't want to be on the methadone anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's this one guy, right?
Yeah.
He decided, you know what? Someone goes, spew, and I'll drink your spew, and I'll pay you for it, right? I'll pay you like pouches of cigarettes or whatever for it, right? Or like bit of tobacco for it. So for a while, he was doing that, and this guy every morning drinking someone else's spew. But this guy who was selling the spew thought, oh, maybe I could be an entrepreneur and split the spew.
Oh man,
and sell it to two different people.
This is getting worse. Yeah.
So he started diluting his spew, right, and selling it to two guys, right. And not only were these guys drinking spew, but they weren't even getting high from it at this point,
wrong
right?
with people?
And these two guys were walking in the yard, talking to each other now, going, "Oh, I'm buying this guy's spew," and this other guy's like, "From who?"
Yeah.
They put two and two together. This is when I learned: do not ever mess with someone's drugs. He ended up getting 30-something holes in him, airlifted out of there.
Fuck.
So I don't know if it's funny or not, but like at the time it wasn't. But when I thought back to it, like the fact that you're drinking someone's spew, like
I didn't know. I didn't know there was a name for it. But
it's called spewies.
There was a guy in the cell next to mine who some guys tried to stand over him to make him throw up his methadone.
Yeah.
So they could get it, and they were like, you can do this the easy way or the hard way. And then he got moved, luckily, to another wing like a day later. But it's funny to hear that that's like not only a common, it happens all the time.
It's called spewies,
but it also has a name.
There's a name for it. It's called spewies.
Far out.
There
man.
you go.
Anything else that jumps to mind?
Nah, man. Like, to be honest with you, like another thing that I really want to talk about was I know. Let's get off I know we're talking about the funny shit, but going back into not like kind of serious, but I ended up going to Norway to visit the jails there, right?
Yeah. So tell me about this. So how did this all come about? That you went over on this research trip?
So like. Somehow, like I ended up getting this Westpac scholarship.
Yep.
So it's like a Westpac fellow scholar. So they give out 10 to Aussies all around Australia every year, right?
Yep.
So I ended up getting on that, which allows that so the money doesn't go into the organization; it goes into the individual to develop the individual as a social change leader. They want you to go out and explore, learn, grow, and come back.
So how much is that scholarship worth?
50K.
50 cray.
Yeah. So 10K of it goes into, so you go to Adelaide and you do 1 week leadership training with all the cohorts.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the 40K, you can spend it on like conferences, education. So a lot of people go to Harvard or Stanford to take extra courses. But fuck that, I'm not going back to uni, bro. How about enough?
Let's go learn some shit in the real world.
So I decided, you know what, this is like, the prison, like the juvie spaces or the prison spaces, the justice spaces where I'm working. So I was like, why don't I use this money to learn more about the justice system around the world, right? So I looked at the most progressive system in the developed Western world, which is Scandinavia, and I chose Norway. Norway has one of the most progressive prisons in the world. Then on the other end of the spectrum, I chose America. Yeah. Because they're fucked up over there, bro. Like, there's another engine on it. So they've got the highest recidivism rates, and So I was like, okay, well let's
and they got the most incarcerated population on Earth. Right?
On Earth, right? That's right. There's over 2 million people locked up, and I was just thinking, okay, let's visit the two difference and learn what we can do and what we shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
So I first went to Norway. And I went to visit the prison there, I was like, it was a different utopian planet, right? So the country itself, the citizens and everything view like inmates and criminals in a completely different light. So 20 years ago, they were the same as Australia and all the other Western countries, but over there they pay extremely high taxes, right? So the government was very good to communicate to its citizens, saying these guys by law or in Norwegian law, they're gonna come out. Maximum you get is like 15 or 16 years, right?
Yeah.
That's the max you get, right? And
Even for someone like Anders Breivik, right?
so there are certain, all right, there are certain things for them. It's like people like that. So you get every 15, 16 years, they get reassessed
Yeah.
at a court if you're mentally suitable to come out.
Yeah, because
So
that
they
guy,
always get knocked back.
that guy
He's-
can
yeah,
never get
No,
released.
he's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so society, like government was good to, communicate to society. If we can invest, right, and use this new system of rehabilitating inmates, right,
Yep.
who are eventually going to come out and potentially be your next door neighbors, right, to be, better citizens. Like, wouldn't you rather want that than all these like inmates going back in and paying high taxes, and we'll divert those savings into more education, healthcare system, whatever. And the citizens agreed. It's like, okay, well, if our taxpayer dollars is going to get saved and go into better things than to the jails, let's do it. So I went to the jail. Oh my God. So I went to a maximum security prison first, right? They had a shopping mall inside Maxo, right?
So do you just contact the prisons and say who you are and ask to do a research trip there? Like, how does it work?
Yeah,
How do you get allowed to do
I
this?
reached out to Corrective Services Norway.
Yeah.
And I put in an application saying I'm doing a kind of like research trip. This is who I am. Then they found out I'm an inmate or former inmate, and they got me to send all the documents over. But got a lot of supporting documents from Westpac as well in regards to what I'm doing. And they approved it. Man, I had an entourage of corrective services taking me around. I was like, it was great. It was all for free. It was
Amazing.
awesome. But I went and saw that they had a shopping mall inside Maxwell. I'm like, this is not normal, is it? So they also took me to the work, like where the inmates work, right?
Yeah.
So there is a wood shop, right? Bloody Scandinavians, man. They make the best shit. So they had the best like equipment to make like furniture. Inmates get paid the same wages as people on the outside. They get credit cards, they pay taxes, they pay rent to the jail, right? And the jail doesn't provide them with food. They give them minimal food. They have to purchase their own food.
Well, if you're getting paid the same amount as a normal person, right? Then
And they pay victims comp. Like
Yeah.
it's like it makes sense. It makes sense, right? Like they make you work hard. You get paid for what you've done for your work, and you go and purchase your food, right? And this is the funny part, right? So one of the inmates that was showing me around took me to the kitchen, and I was like, dude, what are we cooking today? He's like, chicken curry. I was like, oh, man. Pulls out a 30-centimeter kitchen knife. I was like, that's not something you see every day.
Yeah,
In a
an
maximum
inmate with a
security-
giant knife.
In maximum
far out.
security prison. And then he starts cutting up the chicken and the veggies, and I'm just like, what are you in for? He goes, murder. I was like,
Fucking
okay, well, what'd you do? He goes, stab someone 8 times. I'm like, you're not fucking pulling my leg, are ya? And it's like,
Carrying a big
no.
knife.
He goes, no, I'm serious.
I mean, don't they still have incidents with guys like that with weapons? No.
So that's what I
what's
asked. I
going on?
was like, why are there no violent incidences? It's because they get treated in such a humane way. There's so much trust. Officers, the whole like layout of the jail is designed so it doesn't even feel like a jail, right? So
Yeah.
every inmate gets a 1-hour cell. They've got their ensuite bathroom shower. They've got a fridge in the cell. They've got DVDs, TVs, computer in the room. They've got like wardrobes, and it's crazy. It's better than a bloody university dorm.
So, I mean, every person in Australia that I could see that so much pushback, right? The argument would be prison is supposed to be a punishment. You're not supposed to enjoy it. Like, that all sounds insane. How do we fight that argument with what you've seen?
Yeah,
right?
we've tried this for decades and decades. So did Norway, right?
Yeah.
And we know that punishment doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Punishment doesn't work as a society.
Yeah.
Like you're not only making this person get worse, right? But the next generation of people are gonna suffer as well. Their next generation, their kids, their offsprings, people around them. There's more people that are suffering due to that one person, right?
Yeah.
So how do you change that? You know, we always talk about, oh, where's, you know, government spending our money, you know, we're not getting enough support, whatever. Well, you know what? There's billions of dollars going into the prison system, billions and billions. Imagine we could reduce that and, you know, divert that into more community programs, education, healthcare, in a healthcare system, welfare, whatever. Like, you know, Australia would be a better place.
Well, yeah, the cost per inmate in Australia is what? Insane.
113,000 a year.
Yeah.
113. For a young person is 505, like over $500,000.
Why is it so much more for a young person?
There's more staff, there's more care.
Chaos. So you've seen the utopian, amazing version of prison, and then you went from there to the US.
Yeah.
And you've seen hell on earth.
Yeah, literally. So I went to Rikers Island.
And
prison.
again, I think it would be interesting for people like, I think there's this perception that if you have a criminal record, if you've been to prison, that you're never going to be allowed into America, right?
Yeah.
So was there any kind of roadblock there?
No comment on that. I had to go through a lot of strings to make that happen. But
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, in America, you've got a criminal record.
But it's possible. You have done it, right?
You can go in, but there's gonna be a lot of roadworks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible.
It's not
just
impossible.
hard, right?
Yeah.
So you got in, and then you had also contacted Rikers Island and said, "Hey, this is who I am." Were they aware
So
that
it was different. Rikers Island did not give a shit. Right? Right? It's not like Scandinavia, right? So
Scandinavia have this prison system where it's almost like a paradise. They made you go through all the paperwork to get in. Rikers Island didn't give a shit.
They wouldn't even look at you.
That's wild.
Yeah. So how I got in was I knew an organization that was already going in. I had good relationship at Rikers Island.
Yep.
And fortunately, I was connected with them on social media. And I was like, hey, I'm doing this scholarship thing. I'm coming over. Can you get me into Rikers? And they're like, yeah, we could try. And to the last minute, like it wasn't confirmed. It was like me with high hopes. I was like, hey, I was like bothering, going, hey, what's going on? Am I going to get in? And like literally the last minute, they go, yeah, we're going to get you in. And I was like, fuck, I booked the tickets and everything, you know? So yeah, it was a bit of a gamble, but got in, ran fitness programs for 3 different units. One was a violent offender unit. They'd just been locked in for 3 weeks and got let out that same day that I went to go visit them. And the officers go, right, they've just been locked in for the last 3 weeks. They've stabbed the shit out of someone. Good luck. Locked the door and they walked away. I was like,
and you're like, right, fellas, I'm from Australia. G'day, mate.
It was that.
Fuck
it was literally that. Yeah.
And how were they mentally?
They were zoned out. They were zoned out, and none of them wanted to train. It was just about talking about, you know, Australia and they're like kangaroos, and you know all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so they're more interested in just hearing about Australia than they were
and
about
the jails in Australia. The other 2 units were loving me. So I went to the young offender unit, which is the 18 to 25-year-olds. Running training sessions for them. This is how we train in Australia. They've never seen it before, you know. So it was really interesting to be able to share that knowledge. But one thing that really shocked me was I was a bit ignorant, right? I was like, "Is this an African American only unit?" Right? And they go, "No." It was just
that's how many of them there are.
Everyone was black.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking insane, right? The disproportion, you know, of overrepresentation of African Americans in prison was like, you see this in Netflix in the movies, but it's fucking real. I saw it in firsthand. And the last unit I went to was a all-female unit.
What was that like?
I felt like a piece of meat, bro.
They were like, oh, you're cute, boy.
Australia. It's like, you're Aussie. Like, it was really funny, but...
Were all the women black as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hispanic and black.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I ran a mad training session for them and they loved it. And, you know, I came back with an understanding because like they're trying to privatize all their prisons. So it's like pack more inmates in, no security, like less staff. And it's crazy havoc, you know, like, you know, Scandinavia has shown that you invest more officers, right, into rehabilitating and being with inmates, like it works. Whereas over there, it's like this cut cost, just lock them up, throw away. It's a system that doesn't work, you know. And it was funny. So when I came back, the Department of Youth Justice were watching my trip, like through my social media, my LinkedIn and everything, and they kind of approached me and they go, "Hey, do you want to come in and have a meeting about how we can make the system a little bit better?" There was a really good conversation, and I think people like us that have that lived prison experience, who are using different avenues, you comedy, me through fitness. I feel that we really got to utilize this space to, you know, try to really give back and do something good. You know?
Do you feel like it's just falling on deaf ears? Like, do you think they're actually going to listen and any of this stuff could actually turn into positive change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If programs and stuff are working, you know, and there's a lot of community pushback and politicians get involved, why not? You know? And I feel like, you know, a lot of people go, yeah, you're just inmates, but I feel like there's power behind that lived experience and coming out. Look at how Michael Coates-Trotter, who is now what is he?
The secretary to the premier, I think is his role.
I think so. I think another role, wasn't it? Maybe. But he did prison time as well.
Basically, the chief of staff to the premier.
Yeah,
yeah.
So he did time as well.
So he did about 3 years for heroin trafficking.
Yeah,
and at one point he was the head of like criminal justice.
Yeah,
and so he was like the director of prisons.
Yeah,
right. But I mean, I'd love to have him on sometime. Shout out Michael Coates-Trotter. But yeah, I think he's a guy who. Totally turned his life around. He's married to Tanya Plibersek.
Yeah.
And, you know, he took on his role and just owned it. He was like, this is, before anyone else says that this is who I am, this is who I am.
That's it.
You know, so, yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that about him, but it just shows that you can completely reinvent yourself.
Yep.
And that people can I guess get their head around it if you continue to prove it day after day that you actually have changed. You know, and that's why I think with me with comedy, it's usually important for me to use this as a positive outlet to show that I have turned my life around, but also to just show other guys, because my cellie who I was closest to, you know, in Parklea, he took his own life when he got out on bail, and I want to be able to show guys that think like there's no way out, like that it's just a dark hole that they can't turn around.
Yeah.
That there's a different story, you know?
Yeah.
You just don't give up on yourself.
Yeah, 100%. You know, a lot of these people that are doing really good stuff in the community right now who had that lived prison experience, you know, I encourage more people to, you know, voice up and, you know, because you are like very motivating to others who might think, oh shit, my whole life is just going to be crime. There's no one doing it. This is the only way. But there are people who are doing really good stuff in the community at the moment. So well done to you and your comedy. You're making a lot of people laugh, but you're giving a lot of encouragement to, I'm sure there's a lot of inmates listening to you as well.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. It must feel cool for you to have this team of people that work with you every day, that you've brought about such positive change because you've given them a purpose, right? Does that feel cool to just think about like what you've built so far and the fact that it's just getting such a positive reaction from the community and just growing and growing?
Man, it's like it gets me up in the morning, you know. It is purpose, and you know, like when all I was chasing was money in my previous life, I feel like my life was so shallow. But now it's just
totally
I'm literally proud of it. You know?
I totally get that. I was a wealthy drug dealer that was fat and miserable, and now I'm a broke comedian, but I love who I am. You know,
it's all a journey, bro.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, like that's a huge thing for me. Was I when I got locked up, I was fat, man. I was like heavy. I was like 111 kilos, and I think you strip back, you lose all this stuff that you think is important. But I'd forgotten that I still had my body, like I still had my health, like and I had totally unappreciated this amazing thing we have of a body, you know, and so I started to train in the yard like you, and that made me feel so much better mentally. And as I lost the weight, I lost 25 kilos between when I was locked up and when I got out.
Well done, bro.
That helps me to just like be like, holy shit, like I feel so much better physically and mentally, and also because I've been drug free for about a year and a half now, but also because I train a lot, because fitness has become an important part of my life.
Yeah.
But I think people sometimes undervalue just that connection between feeling good physically and just how good it is for your mental health.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the reason why I trained in jail, you know. Not only was it kind of, you know, beneficial to my body, but like I said, remember when I used to train, my mind was free, you know. And that's the reason why I did it. Being consistent every day, doing it, it just made me happier, you know. Yeah.
I saw a quote from you was talking about the funding program, or the funding that you've received, and you said we'd still be doing this if I didn't have the funding, right? Because it's what you believe in. It's what makes you get up in the morning. It's what you're passionate about. And I thought that's exactly the way I feel about comedy. It's like I don't care if I make money, like a living. I mean, I'd like to, but otherwise, I just love doing it. It gives me purpose. Like I love going out and making rooms full of random strangers laugh their ass off. You know,
would it be cool if we could try to get you into prison?
I would love to do stand-up comedy in jail, and to help. Like,
be fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's make this happen.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Let's make this happen. Let me try work something. Right. That would be awesome. Even just to the juvie boys.
Yeah.
To start off, but I think going to the prisons, that would be hectic.
I'd love to. And there's also so many guys in jail that are funny. Like I'd love to imagine doing like an open mic comedy night or comedy afternoon with a whole bunch of inmates. You know, call it criminally funny.
Yeah, bro. Let's try.
Well, you're the man with the connections.
Let's try to do this up.
Make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, Joe, it's been amazing having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I think we'll have to have you on again in the near future when you've got when there's been some new developments.
Mate, watch out what's happening next, man. There's a Confit gym just around the corner.
Fuck yeah. Is it opened already?
It's coming soon.
Can you say where?
Hopefully Parramatta.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We're just waiting on. It's just in talks at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's moving forward. There's a lot of supporters behind this. So yeah, Parramatta.
Look out for that. This has been another episode of Shit's Gone Sideways.
Shit's Gone Sideways.